Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. Before we dive into this heartwarming story, hit subscribe so you'll never miss the most courageous dog tales we share every day. What if the most broken thing you ever found was the key to your own healing? In a somber auction, an old injured dog was put up for a mere $5.00. The animal was met with mockery, and nobody wanted to buy it. But a 9-year-old boy named Eli stepped forward and used his meager $5.00 to save the dog from its miserable fate. The boy brought the dog home, cared for it, and named it Benny. Benny's life began to change, and it slowly regained its trust in humans. Ultimately, this very dog became a hero, saving Eli's life from an unexpected accident. Their story spread throughout the town, giving both of them a second chance, and proving that kindness can change everything. This wasn't a place of new beginnings, it was where a lifetime of loyalty could be sold for scraps. Standing on a makeshift stage was a tired black man named Julian, his face a roadmap of hard-won lessons. His voice, a deep, weary rumble, cut through the noise. "Next up," he announced, "lot number 12. From the pen limped a senior black Labrador, his coat dull and matted, his leg dragging with every painful step. His eyes held a deep, profound sadness, the kind that comes from a broken heart. He was a living testament to the brutal truth that some things, once broken, are considered worthless. A group of teenagers near the fence snickered, their laughter a cruel, piercing sound. "Looks like a lost cause," one of them jeered, and a chorus of agreement rose from the crowd. Julian, seeing no bids, was about to move on when a small voice pierced the silence. $5, a boy said, his voice trembling but firm. All eyes turned to Khalil, a 9-year-old boy in a red hoodie, his hand clutching the crumpled bill as if it were a fortune. Khalil saw past the limping leg and the dull eyes. He saw a kindred spirit, and in that one moment a fragile promise of hope was born. No one knew the dog's story, but we will. Before he was lot number 12, before he was a broken animal with no name, he was called Champ, and he was the best friend a boy named Jamal could ever have. Champ was a magnificent Labrador, a blur of black fur and pure joy. He could fetch the paper and even smile on command. The family was a tight-knit unit, their laughter a symphony of a life well lived. But life has a way of changing things you never thought could break. Jamal's father, a proud carpenter, fell ill. The medical bills piled up like a mountain of unforgiving snow. They lost their home and had to move to a tiny apartment where pets were strictly forbidden. The night before they left, Jamal clung to Champ, tears streaming down his face. "I'll come back for you, I promise," he whispered, a vow born of a child's desperate hope. Champ's journey was a descent into darkness. From a crowded, noisy shelter, he was adopted by a man who saw him not as a companion but as a lawn ornament. He spent his days tied up outside, a prisoner of a rusty chain and a broken bowl. His leg injury was the final straw. Instead of a vet visit, the man muttered, "Useless mutt," and drove him to that final, lonely auction. This is the tragic story behind the eyes of a broken dog. A story of a promise, broken by a world that just keeps turning. The Story of the Promise by Diana Morton. A story of a promise broken by a world that just keeps turning. The walk home was a quiet testament to their shared isolation. On the sidewalk, people stared, they whispered, they judged. But Khalil, clutching the thin leash, didn't care. His father, David, stood on the porch, a silent storm brewing behind his eyes. David wasn't just skeptical, he was haunted. Years ago he had lost his own dog in a tragic accident he couldn't prevent, and seeing Benny brought back the crushing guilt. "What's this?" David asked, his voice low and weary. "He needed me," Khalil replied simply. David sighed, and in a moment of quiet compassion, he conceded. "He sleeps in the barn." In the barn, Khalil created a small haven of old blankets and a bowl of warm food. He sat a few feet away, silent, patient. But Benny remained frozen in the doorway, his body trembling. Then, late one night, as Khalil slept, David walked out to the barn. He sat quietly, a few feet from Benny, his hand not reaching out, but his voice soft. "I've been there, boy," he whispered, sharing his own story of loss, a secret he had never told his son. This was the moment of connection, not through a touch, but through a shared understanding of pain. Then, on the third week, something shifted. Khalil opened the barn door to find Benny lying on the blankets, his eyes blinking slowly. He wasn't running, he wasn't hiding. He was staying. That night, Benny, for the first time, took a morsel of food from Khalil's hand. The flicker of hope had been reignited. David, watching from the kitchen window, began leaving a small dish of leftover stew by the barn door, his own small way of healing. Their quiet adventures had become a daily ritual. Benny would follow Khalil to the creek that snaked behind their farm, his tail wagging low but steady, a symbol of a trust slowly being rebuilt. One afternoon, Khalil, a boy with a boundless curiosity, pushed open the door of an old ivy-covered shed. "I'll be right back," he called to Benny with a grin, but the old floorboards, rotten with time, had other plans. With a sudden, terrifying crack, the floor gave way beneath him. Khalil fell, his leg pinned by a heavy, splintered board. Panic clawed at his throat. He screamed for Benny, his voice a desperate echo in the silent woods. Above, the dog was gone. Had the fear of the past finally won? Khalil's heart sank, tears stinging his eyes as he struggled to free himself. Then, a sound he hadn't heard in years, a sharp, urgent, echoing bark, pierced the silence. Benny wasn't gone. He was sprinting, limping furiously back toward the house. He had to cross a swollen creek and climb a barbed wire fence, tearing his fur, but he kept going. He was no longer a broken dog. He was a hero on a mission. David was on the porch when he saw him, a flash of black fur running with a desperate purpose. Benny barked once more, then turned back toward the woods, his wild eyes pleading. David knew instinctively that something was terribly wrong. He grabbed his old leather jacket, the same one he'd worn the day he lost his old dog, and followed the sound of Benny's frantic barks. They found Khalil just minutes later. As David lifted the board from his son's leg, he noticed a small, distinct scar on Benny's ear. The same scar he remembered on his friend's dog Champ. Tears welled in his eyes. The story of the rescue spread through the town like wildfire. It started with a simple Facebook post from David, a man who had never been on social media. "This dog no one wanted just saved my son's life." The picture of Khalil and Benny, both covered in dirt, was a testament to courage and compassion. Within hours, the post went viral. The comments poured in, a chorus of voices realizing their mistake. One man, an old-timer who had been at the auction, came to the house with a check. "This is for the vet bills," he said, his eyes filled with genuine shame and admiration. "I was wrong. I'm sorry." When the news called for an interview, Khalil's answer was the heart of the entire story. "He looked like he needed someone," Khalil said. "I know how that feels." But this time David also spoke, his voice full of emotion. He told the story of his own past and of Benny's true identity as Champ, a hero who had come back to him in the most unexpected way. The reporter, her eyes welling with emotion, smiled. "I think he saved more than just you, Khalil," she said softly. "It wasn't just Benny who got a second chance. You and your father did too. They saved each other, and so, their legacy was born." The story of Benny and Khalil is a powerful reminder that every one of us, no matter how broken or discarded, has the potential for greatness. It's a message for anyone who has ever felt like they didn't belong, for anyone who has ever been judged or pushed aside. Benny, the forgotten dog, became a symbol of resilience. Khalil, the lonely boy, became a hero. Together, they proved that a little bit of compassion can change everything, and that true strength isn't about being perfect, but about being there for someone else. Thank you for listening to this incredible story. If Benny and Khalil's journey touched your heart, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a little hope. And if you have a story about an underdog who changed your life, I want to hear it. Leave a comment below and let's start a conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next story of resilience and courage. Until next time, stay strong and keep sharing your light.